I'm a big fan of forgiveness. Yeah, I love forgiveness. It's way easier to get to receive a little forgiveness than it is to get permission. I'll probably be asking for a lot of that forgiveness at the end of this little story, which kind of takes place on a June night in 1988. I was at a cartoonist convention in Milwaukee. So I checked into the hotel and did my duty by going down to the bar and hanging out with my fellow cartoonists. There was about a dozen of them in there. And we did what we do. We had the place to ourselves. So we drank beer and doodled on napkins. Cartoonists are kind of a badass bunch. About 2 beers before midnight, this commotion happened. It's almost, the bar was a lot like about this size. We had the bar over there, and we had some tables and some booze and stuff. The cartoonists are at the tables. We're just doing this. All of a sudden, there was no saloon doors, but if there had been saloon doors, pop! Robert Plant and his new band came out. They had just had a concert in Milwaukee, and Robert Plant, it was after his Led Zeppelin days, so this was the Zen and Now tour, and they just came in from the hot concert, and they just knew this little bar was going to be full of hot babes and big hair and little tiny skirts. All they got was a gaggle of dorky cartoonists drawing on little tiny napkins.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, cartoonists are pretty good guys, but man, we're horrible groupies. No, these are the ugliest groupies in the world. And you could just feel the disappointment on their faces. They were just like, So they went to the bar and they hunkered around the bar. And let me just set this up a little bit for you. This was the 80s, and Robert Plant had a band of guys that was probably 19, 20 years old. And they were playing music, and they were having a good concert, but good tour. But he was being interviewed all the way along on this tour, and he'd always something stuck in his craw. He really hated the fact that all these, he called them copycat bands, copycat Led Zeppelin band, hair metal was raging. He despised this bunch, and the worst sinner of them all, in Robert Plant's eyes, was this guy named David Coverdale. He was Whitesnake. He was the front man for Whitesnake. Before that, he was with Deep Purple. But Robert Plant thought this guy was really trying to copy his act. He didn't call him David Coverdale. He called him David Coverversion. So I looked over at the bar, and unfortunately, the stool next to Robert Plant was empty. So I had decided to migrate up there and just kind of nonchalantly play it cool and plop down and start chatting with him about whatever. And after about 2 or 3 minutes, about 5 or 10 minutes of, we're actually getting along pretty well. And I even we all actually had a couple of laughs about how homely his groupies were. I thought I was in. I thought I was hanging with the cool kids up at the bar. And I finally said, wow, this is so cool. Who would have ever thought I would have been in a Milwaukee bar, in a hotel bar, hanging out with my favorite rock star, David Coverdale. That's kind of funny, right? Wrong. Robert Plant wasn't feeling a whole lot of love. He nudged, I saw him nudge his bandmate over there, and he says, "What's this?" So then he gets right in my face. He gets that. I can only see one eye. He was that close to my face. His face was bright red, burning red. And he goes, "So, does your mother sew?" And I go, "What, does my mother sew?" Yeah, my mom can sew. He launched that big head right square into mine, knocked me off the stool onto the floor, and then he just leaned over and said, "Have her stitch that one up, mother." he said something like this. He said something like this. Have her sit down, that mother trucker. Well, I slunk back to my table of doofuses, and I was stunned. I just didn't know what to think. I was like, Robert Plant just headbutted me. Is that cool? Or is that not cool? I couldn't figure it out. I didn't know. So I stewed about it for a few minutes, and finally I just ginned up the nerve, and I marched right back up there to him, and I said, Robert Plant, I am so disappointed in you. You did not recognize my dry wit and sharp timing. What you did was uncalled for. Of course I know who you are. That headbutting was uncalled for completely. And then I leaned into him a little bit. I said, you know, you're surrounded by a gang of dangerous cartoonists. And they're armed to the teeth with pins and napkins. Then there was this really long pause, and I didn't know how this was going to go over. And he slapped me on the back, and he smiled, and he said, man, I'm going to buy you a beer. So he bought me a beer. Anyway, so about 37 years to the night, almost, so we're getting on this night with y'all as my witness, I want to say, Robert Plant, I forgive you for headbutting me. I'm not quite there on there calling me a mother trucker. JD Crowe.